All right. So before I get into this topic, as you know, I have officially reached the end of what appears to be my two. I'll say, in this case, a 2.5 week important big break. As it concludes later today, I still got some time, but for the most part, my important big 2 week break will come to an end pretty soon. It's happening today, later today, but I still got some time. It's just you know, it has come to that already. So it's pretty much back to reality. I feel like I've done enough to make the most of it, right? Especially the last week, and finally taking care of that tribute game for you know my 9 year friendship anniversary with Mari. Obviously, I just barely reviewed that yesterday, and I'm gonna definitely get into that. Since I haven't had a chance to do it like right after, so I'll get into that. Before my break officially ends. You know what I'm saying? I'll do that. I still got some other content I want to drop. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to that. Otherwise, that'll have to be saved for when I'm back in my dump, which will be tomorrow. So, you know, um, for the most part, yeah, I think I still got some time. It's just that, you know, knowing how time is, knowing how busy I've been, especially yesterday and the day before that, you know, the time's gonna go by really fast. But to my credit, I've actually been very, very competitive in getting everything I need to get done. So I just thought I'd address this because this will definitely be the conclusion of my important 2 week break, and you know, I'm not gonna sit here and act like, well, I didn't really make the most of it because these 2 weeks go by too fast. Well, no, I've done enough. I just wish I could have done more, and I still got, these next few hours before God knows when the break will officially end. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'll see when I'll get another opportunity like this, but I don't know. We'll just have to see it right after this ends. So, anyways, let me get into this topic. I'm not going to be too long on this one, and I've been hesitant whether to do this one or not, in regards to my friendship with topic, and I just thought I'd get it out of the way. So this one is in regards to Nick. That is a longtime friend of Neil. I remember when I first met him. He was with Neil. We watched the Batman movie. I forgot what movie that was that time. I know it was in 2012. Was it The Dark Knight Rises? I'm trying to remember. I think it might be The Dark Knight Rises, but I gotta check on that. But I just remember meeting Nick, obviously through Russ, because that's another one of his longtime homies. It was me, Russ. I think Dewey was there, Neil, and then Nick. We all watched the Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises, at the Cerritos Town Center. So after that, we went to Burger King to grab dinner, and Russ said that we met Carlos after. He said that we hung out at the Cerritos Regional in the evening. Something kind of tells me that, like, I remember it, like I vaguely remember it, but I only remembered it was me, and it was the Batman movie and the Burger King hangout after that. So yeah, so that's how I met Nick. In regards to my friendship with Nick, mind you, I never hung out with this guy one-on-one. There was never a single time when we hung out one-on-one. It has always been in groups. And with Neil, starting to become my best friend, one of my best friends. You know, as soon as he became a nut baller, this is going into like 2016 and beyond. You know, I've had many hangouts with Neil, uh, one on one. So we done a whole lot. With Nick, I never had. It was always in groups. And before hanging out with Neil, just just by himself, I'm talking about when Nick is not around. Every hangout that I've had with Neil, was in a group. Obviously, with Nick, and most of the time it's Russ and slash Dewey. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there was a time when it was just me, Russ, and Nick, with no Neil, and that was at the OC Fair, way back in 2013, toward the end of July. So, I mean, you can see right here in the thumbnail that famous snake picture. Famous. I love that one, man. To this day. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, there was never really a time that me and Nick hung out one on one. For the most part, he seems like a really cool guy. He's very talkative, much like Russ, much like Carlos, much like a boss. And so he's in that group where if you put him, Russ, a boss, and Carlos together, these guys, this would definitely be a band of like, this would definitely be a choir right here. Especially if a lot of the talk is going to be sports talk, which I don't mind. I definitely participate in such a choir like this because it helps to bring my energy up. It'll help me get involved. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, Nick is definitely one of the more talkative dudes. Neil is just more of the quiet, humble dude. But in regards to Nick, he's just a more talkative guy. And I remember that. Well, I mean, I wasn't part of it, but from what Russ told me, that after he got into this one car accident, that was the start of when Nick just pretty much distanced himself more you know from us, from his friends. I mean, I don't know if it's just us or what, but yeah, things started to change for Nick after that car accident. So, but then we were still able to hang out with him, a few more times. It just was. I mean, even back then, it just was never so often that I saw Nick, and if so, that was when it was both Nick and Neil at the time. I've seen them in that bonfire that's supposed to be Dewey's supposed farewell bonfire, and obviously Dewey's still here to this day. We all thought he was going to leave to Louisiana, right? But yeah, I mean, in regards to where my friendship stands with him, I can worry less, man. I'm not nearly as close with Nick as Russ and Neil are, and I don't know with Dewey. Andrew certainly is not that close with Nick, but you know, I think Russ and Neil are closer with him than I ever have been with Nick ever since we met. So who knows if there will be another chance as far as you know, as far as me and Nick still continuing this friendship. Although most of or just all of our hangouts have been in groups. But hey, I mean, it's always nice to see him in a group. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. Something tells me there won't be another chance, but I may be wrong. He'll come around. He doesn't even live that far, but you know, it's just like every time me, Neil, and Russ tried to get him to hang out, even for one of our one of our birthdays and all that, he's just never around. He's just never available anymore. So I'm not forcing any more issues at this point in regards to Nick and his availability to hang out. It is what it is with him. So, he's just living his life while the rest of us are just doing our thing, and we're still making time for one another. So that being said, I'll just let him be. You know, I don't have any beef with him at all. You know, I just wish there would be a time when I would develop our friendship, but it seems like that's just not the case. But again, I'm just gonna let him live his life, and it is what it is. I still have his number, and he's in one of our many group chats. But for the most part, he's just doing his own thing, and like I said, I'm not close with Nick like that, like Russ and Neil are. So I'm not really missing too much. I have who I have, so it is what it is. If it seems like there will be no chance anymore after just to try to get him to hang out with us. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's all I want to say, man. Just let me know what you think. You know, peace out. I'm gonna get into another topic after this. I'll try to do the best I can because I'm in a real short time period. Until my break is over. All right, peace.